Dolores Umbridge. I am handing the school over to you. I will be leaving shortly, and so without fear of retribution I can safely say to you all three things. He turned back to the school's populace, who were now staring agog at him. Look to your friends for comfort and support. Consider all that is true and believe it to be so. Remain loyal to your houses. But Professor Dumbledore, why? A Gryffindor student called out loudly and suddenly became the spokeswizard for the entire throng. My departure represents the complete incompetence of the Ministry for Magic. I must protest. Umbridge strode up to her soon-to-be predecessor and tried to take him by the arm, recoiling in shock when she realized she couldn't get her hand within 6 inches of him. The incompetence of the Ministry for Magic resulting in not only the loss of opportunity to defeat Lord Voldemort using the Universal Link, but also the chance to develop the magic behind it, leading to the relentless pursuit and subsequent death of our Mole Studies teacher. On cue the students looked at Tabitha Benright, who blushed pinkily and clashed with her beige ball attire. He's talking about Mrs. Frobisher, growled Snape loudly enough so the entire Great Hall could hear him. Dumbledore nodded in acknowledgement. We have a perfectly adequate teacher here, Dumbledore. Someone who is perfectly capable of rediscovering the Universal Link were she given the appropriate and mandatory assistance. I am not talking about her, Umbridge, I am talking about her. Dumbledore stabbed his finger at Tabitha before pointing to the poor newspaper image of Cecilia Frobisher that another Gryffindor student was brandishing. Seamus put the offending page onto the table as movement from either side of the teacher's row indicated the impending removal of the document by the ministerial errors and possibly the impending removal of Finnegan himself. A much-loved teacher, continued Dumbledore as the errors wove their way towards the center of the Gryffindor table where Harry, Hermione, Ron and Seamus were sitting. She gloriously brought to you the lives of non-wizards as well as the Universal Link. I have no reason to keep the details from you, as it will only strengthen the goodness and rightness within you if you know what took place. From Dumbledore's right Umbridge turned again and was advancing upon the soon-to-be ex-headmaster and was again repelled. No. You shall not. Silencio. Minerva McGonagall was on her feet now and had turned her ashen face and frail frame towards Umbridge, brandishing her wand. It had come as almost as much of a shock to the elderly witch herself as it had done to Dolores Umbridge, and she staggered, her weight caught by Snape who eased her back into her chair. It was charged upon the Ministry to locate Mrs. Frobisher because the Minister for Magic believed her to be a threat to wizard security. Rubbish! Shouted someone from behind Hermione, and she turned to see Fred and George standing on the tables issuing their protest along with several dozen other students from the other 3 houses even, noted Hermione in surprise, some from Slytherin. But it seemed to make no difference. Dumbledore appeared to be oblivious to any interruptions and continued with his speech. In doing so she was hounded from her home and was subsequently discovered by a Hogwarts student before coming up against Dementors unleashed by the Ministry for Magic. Malfoy! Growled both Ron and Harry together. Hermione said nothing and felt a tear trace slowly down her cheek as this time Dumbledore allowed the ripple of noise to ebb. The life of a brilliant teacher was taken by a Dementor's kiss. I understand from the Ministry's own interdepartmental accounts of the incident that she did indeed suffer greatly. And now, he concluded matter-of-factly as both Tabitha's and Umbridge's faces turned white, Voldemort will arise again. The Ministry does not believe this and chooses to pass the blame on to an easier, more identifiable and entirely false target, moles. Lord Voldemort has only to find one last Horcrux and he will return to inflict terror upon moles and wizards alike. The Ministry don't want you to know this and has drawn up a list of things they are going to do to make things safer for you. Dumbledore stopped and stepped towards the center of the stage, looking around at his students before raising his arms aloft. At once the pleasant summer sky turned charcoal black and heavy with cloud. Lightning bolts crackled above and a rainstorm began to fall down the sides of the Great Hall. And so a finely balanced sequence of events must now take place in order for him to be defeated. Beginning with this, goodbye,